The stale air in the abandoned lobby hangs heavy, thick with the scent of dust and decay. A faint, metallic groan echoes from the depths of the building, a sound too deliberate to rust. Above, a single light flickers, revealing a tarnished brass number, 13. The silence that follows isn't empty, it's waiting. What happens when the oldest parts of a building refuse to stay dead? Welcome back to Room Beneath, where we delve into the shadows of the unknown. Tonight, we have a story that will make you think twice before stepping into an old elevator. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. Arthur Finch, a man who'd spent 30 years coaxing life back into dead machinery, wiped sweat from his brow. The old Beaumont Tower was a skeleton of its former self, a monument to forgotten ambition. Dust motes danced in the sparse light filtering through grimy windows as he hefted his heavy toolbox. Elevator 13, the work order read, deactivated for decades, shrouded in local whispers of something sinister. Arthur, ever the pragmatist, scoffed at the tales. It was just a job, another rusty beast waiting for his touch. The shaft for Elevator 13 was a vertical maw of darkness. Arthur strapped on his headlamp, its beam cutting through the gloom, illuminating rusted cables and ancient counterweights. He began his methodical inspection, the familiar clang of his tools echoing in the cavernous space. A sudden, sharp crack echoed from above, like a whip. He paused, listening. Only the distant hum of the city. He shook his head, blaming settling debris. Then, a low, guttural sigh seemed to emanate from the shaft itself, followed by a faint, metallic scraping sound, not from his tools, but from deeper within the impenetrable darkness. Arthur's heart thumped a little faster. He told himself it was just the eerie quiet of the place playing tricks. He moved to the old control panel, prying open its rusted cover. As his fingers navigated the tangled wires, a cold draft snaked around his ankles, even though there was no discernible vent. The panel's old indicator light, long dead, flickered erratically, briefly illuminating the faded number 13. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through the entire structure. Then, from directly behind the panel, a whisper, distinct and chilling, slithered into his ear. "You shouldn't be here." The chilling whisper, so impossibly close, sent a jolt through Arthur. He spun around, headlamp beams slicing through the dust-laden air, revealing only the skeletal framework of the old control panel and the cavernous, silent shaft behind it. He told himself it was the building, the wind, his imagination. He was a man of steel and wires, not ghosts. Yet a knot of unease tightened in his stomach. He cautiously probed the wiring, but the cold draft persisted like an unseen breath on his neck, raising goosebumps despite the building's stuffy air. He tried to dismiss the feeling, to focus on the tangible, but the building seemed to resist. As he attempted to reconnect a crucial circuit, the old indicator light for 13 flared intensely, then extinguished, plunging the immediate area into deeper shadow. A low, vibrating hum began, not from the machinery, but from the very walls, making his teeth ache. Then the distinct, rhythmic thump, thump, thump of something heavy began from inside the sealed elevator shaft, slowly ascending, floor by agonizing floor, far above where the car should have been. Arthur's breath hitched. He fumbled for his walkie-talkie, his fingers slick with sweat, his mind racing for a logical explanation. The thumping grew louder, closer, accompanied now by a ghastly, dragging sound, like something heavy being pulled across rough concrete just above the floor where he stood. He backed away slowly, clutching his heavy metal toolbox like a shield. As the sounds culminated in a shuddering clang directly overhead, the rusty service hatch above him, bolted shut for decades, began to slowly, inexorably grind open, revealing only impenetrable darkness. The rusty service hatch above him groaned, slowly, inexorably grinding open. Arthur froze, a primal fear seizing him as the sound echoed through the desolate shaft. His headlamp beam pierced the immediate darkness, revealing nothing but more darkness beyond the slowly widening gap. A sudden, frigid draft, smelling of decay and ozone, cascaded down, making the hairs on his arms stand on end. He heard a faint, metallic groan, not from the hatch, but from deeper within the impenetrable abyss now revealed above. It sounded like something shifting, settling into place. Arthur stumbled backward, his worn blue coveralls brushing against the grimy wall. The floor beneath him seemed to subtly tilt, throwing him off balance. The sounds from the shaft intensified, no longer just a thump, but a wet, viscous dragging, closer now, accompanied by a faint, rhythmic drip, drip from directly above. He fumbled for his walkie-talkie, his fingers slick with cold sweat, only to find it dead, a useless piece of plastic in his trembling hand. A single, cold drop landed on his cheek. He instinctively wiped it, his dark brown leather work glove revealing a glistening, dark residue that wasn't grease, wasn't water. The dripping quickened, each drop echoing like a hammer blow against the silence. A grotesque, shadowy form began to slowly, agonizingly coalesce within the black maw of the open hatch, descending inch by terrifying inch. It wasn't metal, it wasn't human. It was an amorphous, vaguely humanoid mass, accompanied by the chilling symphony of splintering wood and groaning metal as it forced its way down. Arthur's breath caught in his throat, a silent scream trapped behind his lips. He was trapped, the control panel and scattered debris blocking his escape route. As the thing's form solidified, its unnatural shadows stretching towards him, he finally let out a raw, guttural scream. Arthur's raw, guttural scream tore through the stale air, not of defiance, but of pure, unadulterated terror. The grotesque mass within the hatch continued its descent, its form now less amorphous, more sickeningly defined. It was a shifting, obsidian void, vaguely humanoid, but without features, its surface shimmering with an oily, unnatural wetness. It hummed there, suspended just above him, pulsating softly, a silent, predatory leviathan that had finally found its prey. The putrid smell of decay intensified, burning his nostrils as the air grew heavy, thick with an unseen malice. The pulsating entity emitted a low, resonant thrum that vibrated through the very floorboards, rattling Arthur's teeth. Its amorphous form began to extend, a tendril of inky blackness snaking downwards, stretching towards him with an unnerving, deliberate slowness. Paralyzed by fear, Arthur could only watch as the tip of the tendril hovered inches from his face, a cold, cloying sensation washing over him. His headlamp beam, usually a beacon of control, now seemed futile, swallowed by the oppressive darkness emanating from the thing. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his feet were rooted to the spot. With a sudden, guttural roar of desperation, Arthur swung his heavy metal toolbox, a futile gesture against the encroaching horror. The tendril recoiled slightly, but the main mass of the entity descended further, filling the entire opening of the service hatch. Its presence solidified, no longer just a shadow, but a tangible, suffocating weight. The air grew impossibly cold, and a high-pitched, piercing whine echoed from the shaft, vibrating deep within his bones. He realized with dawning horror that the elevator car itself, the very thing he was meant to repair, was now moving, rising silently from the depths, and he was directly in its path, trapped between the monstrosity above and the colossal, unseen metal beast below. The elevator car, a colossal beast of rusted metal, groaned as it ascended, its ancient frame filling the shaft below him. Above, the pulsating, inky mass from the service hatch continued its slow, deliberate descent, now mere feet from his head. Arthur was caught in a horrifying vice. He scrambled, his worn blue coverall snagging on loose wires, desperate for any escape from the imminent crush. The air grew impossibly thin, stealing his breath as the high-pitched whine from the shaft intensified, a sound that felt like it was tearing his very cells apart. He could feel the cold, oppressive presence of the entity above, its unseen tendrils brushing his hair. The rising elevator car scraped against the shaft walls, a sound of grinding metal that promised annihilation. The amorphous entity above him pulsed faster, its inky surface rippling as if in anticipation. Arthur's mind, usually a fortress of logic, fractured under the pressure. He noticed a narrow, dust-choked access panel to his left, barely wide enough for a man, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. It was a desperate gamble, a plunge into unknown darkness, but the alternative was far worse. The air crackled with malevolent energy, and the stench of decay grew overwhelming, making him gag. With a surge of adrenaline, Arthur shoved his heavy toolbox aside and threw himself at the rusted access panel. His gloved hands fumbled with the corroded latch, the metal shrieking in protest. Just as the elevator car's upper frame was about to pin him and the entity's lowest point began to brush the crown of his head, the panel gave way with a sickening creak. He squeezed through the narrow opening, tumbling into absolute blackness. He heard the colossal crunch of metal on metal as the car and the entity met where he had just stood, followed by a wet, sucking sound, and then a faint, chilling whisper from within the cramped, unseen space he had landed in. Arthur tumbled into absolute darkness, gasping, the chilling echo of "welcome" still ringing in his ears. The air was thick and stagnant, reeking of damp earth and something else, something cloying and metallic. He frantically clicked his headlamp, its beam struggling against the oppressive gloom, revealing a narrow, claustrophobic passage, constructed not of clean-cut concrete, but rough-hewn stone and corroded, unfamiliar metals. He could hear no sound from the elevator shaft now, only the frantic thumping of his own heart and a faint, rhythmic hum that seemed to emanate from the very walls around him. Welcome. He pushed himself forward, crawling through the constricted space, the rhythmic hum intensifying, a low thrum against his bones. The metallic, coppery scent grew stronger, sickeningly sweet. His headlamp beam danced across the walls, catching unsettling details. Not just grime, but faded, grotesque symbols etched into the stone, almost like ancient warnings. Further along, glimmers of something reflective caught his eye. Shards of what looked like hardened black ichor embedded in the stone. This was no ordinary maintenance tunnel. It felt like the forgotten arteries of something monstrous, leading deeper into the building's unseen depths, slowly inclining downwards. The passage abruptly opened into a vast, unlit cavern. Arthur stood at the precipice, his headlamp's beams swallowed by the immense darkness, revealing nothing. Then, from the unfathomable depths, a faint, ethereal, bioluminescent glow began to emerge, pulsating softly. As he cautiously stepped closer, the glow strengthened, revealing not a natural rock formation, but a massive, pulsating, organic structure, a grotesque heart of the building, connected by thick, vein-like cables to where Elevator 13's shaft should have been. And within this abominable mass, he saw them. Figures, human-like, suspended, integrated into the pulsating flesh, their eyes open and vacant. The source of the welcome was revealed as one of these figures slowly, unnaturally, turned its head towards him, its voice echoing in his mind, clear and chilling. You're one of us now. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more chilling tales from Room Beneath.